Ladies and gentlemen, it really feels like the crypto bull market is back. From every angle, all the news is getting positive again, and I'm excited about it. I'm actually very excited about it. Now, last time, just a couple of days ago, we had ourselves a bullish announcement in the Ripple SEC lawsuit. The SEC surrendered, and so I upgraded my room. Went a little bit crazy on the hotel. Today, all right, crypto was pumping again. I felt good. I felt, hey, let's go for something crazy. Let's go experimental. And there's a reason you don't do that. There's order to these things. So before we dive into all the crazy crypto news, guys, today I bought myself something which I highly regret. It's a, not a crypto. No, I wish. It is a tonic espresso. Arguably -1 out of 10. And first things first, I want to show you guys this little clip. As I'd personally say, it explains a lot about the philosophy of why we are investing into certain cryptos and not others. Right now, as I said at the start of the video, the bull market feels back. Bitcoin crossing 30,000, people feeling like their altcoins, Chainlink, Solana are starting to pop off and do crazy. They're wondering what happens next, but also most importantly, I always explain that in a bull market, we change our portfolio up. We go for these crazy altcoins that have potential. But the reason we don't buy them right now has a very important reason that Michael Saylor here describes beautifully. But while he does that, I'll explain the analogy later. He also explains our main philosophy with crypto anyway. So if you're ever wondering, why are we still holding? Is crypto dead? Take a look at this.
If it's not going to zero, it's going to 1,000,000. It's either nothing, right? If it's nothing, then it's getting scrubbed out and banned. And of course, we now know that it's not getting banned, right? There's no way that Fidelity, Citadel, BlackRock, Charles Schwab, Deutsche Bank, Credit Agricole, Banco Santander all decide they're interested in this, right? They're not endorsing a tulip bulb.
So the two takeaways I want you guys to understand from this is, one, crypto is really a make or break type of deal. But within crypto, this is part two, there's still subcategories which have a higher likelihood to go to that million than to zero, or rather will most likely do so with a greater probability of success, even though the multiplier will be less. Explaining that is, the reason we're going for this sector is because it's either going to completely demolish everything else or fail. And the backing that it's getting right now are making it seem as if this sector is going to succeed. The reason we go for these main cryptos and not for these ones in the background is like the philosophy of Michael Saylor buying Bitcoin and not some like Ether or something else. He just goes for the thing he thinks has the highest probability of going to make it, because he knows some things will fail and most things will do well. That BlackRock, Fidelity, and all these guys have their faith in and their money in as well. So most likely this area will do good. But what is the highest probability of doing good? And so what am I going to focus on? He says Bitcoin. Now a lot of us investors, extrapolate a little bit towards the idea of we go for the main cryptos at the top of the top. They've got this make or break type of ordeal where we're mostly on the they're going to make it type of side, right? But with a lot of altcoins lower down the rankings, even though they would probably make it more often or make it better, instead of $1 million going to go to 10 million. There's so many more breaks that it's harder to filter. And so that's two key philosophies I want you guys to take away here. It's always, always, always about the risk reward. And the higher up in the crypto ranks you go, the lower your reward, but also the lower your risk. And ultimately that means that if your risk is almost inevitable, but your reward is still good, sorry, I meant like neglectable, but your reward is still good, that's a very good investment. And that's how Michael Saylor sees it. It's different than what a lot of us have, where we're like, okay, we don't care about some risk, we just want to do extremely well. And I want to remind you guys again of just how small Bitcoin and crypto as a concept still really is in the grand scheme of things. A lot of people say XRP, or pick your crypto like Bitcoin, is going to surpass gold or tokenize everything, like for example real estate. And if you think about it, if all that value hops onto the crypto space, can you just comprehend how much value the crypto space would have? Because in theory, right, it would encompass it all. It would encompass it all, literally. Because even though it's not going to be taken away from here, this is an interesting thing about how wealth is calculated, or how money really works. At the end of the day, we have defined on this channel multiple times the drawbacks of just a simple GDP measure and a wealth measure because it's so hard to define. We've talked many times about how the banking system is kind of stupid, but really smart in the way it was designed for the ones controlling it. But one thing you're often being, I wouldn't say lied to, but just not being told is that these numbers right here, what exactly they quantify is nearly impossible to state. It's the current value of the asset class. But define that. Does that mean this is what the liquid worth of it is? No, because if people started panicking, the value would drop. And theoretically speaking, if people started selling, the value would drop. Vice versa about crypto's market cap. People often say, no, Bitcoin can't go to this amount of market cap. No, XRP, no, BNB, whatever, pick your coin. Solana can't go to that price because of market cap. And I tell them again, market cap is only the price times the amount of coins. What that means is very, very hard to explain because we could, theoretically speaking, have ourselves the #1 market cap crypto here with only one transaction. There's a lot of measures that take place for us to basically validate a market cap. If I've got a coin with 100 billion, no, with 1 trillion coins, right? There's 1 trillion Dusty coins, and I sell one of them for $1. All of a sudden, it's a $1 trillion crypto. And all of a sudden, $1 trillion is added to the entire crypto market. Now, will we acknowledge this? Probably not. Similarly with stocks, which is considered fraud, by the way, to value yourself that high all of a sudden. But in the crypto space, that's theoretically speaking how it works. So there doesn't need to be an injection of $1 trillion for the market to increase by $1 trillion. And hence, when we often say that BlackRock or these guys are joining with their $16 trillion, even that number doesn't really mean too much in the grand scheme of things, but think about it. If they all of a sudden decided to put a percentage of their money into the space, even if it's only 1% of $16 trillion, let's just call it 6% or a couple percent, but that it's like, for example, $1 trillion entering the crypto space, the market cap of cryptos could increase by $10 trillion by a $1 trillion injection. Matter of fact, it could increase by 20, 30, 40 trillion dollars by just a $1 trillion injection, depending on how things go. If we all today agreed, none of us, which won't happen, but hypothetically speaking, none of us are going to sell our Bitcoin below $1 million. None of us are going to sell our XRP below $5. For XRP, that would be an instant increase in market cap of 10 times, or it would add 9 times basically. So let's just call it $250 billion would increase, or the market cap would increase by $250 billion with just one little commitment. Again, won't really happen, but all it takes is just one single transaction above $5 for that to be the truth now. So in theory, a $1 injection, or $5, let's call it, it could in theory just be a single part of a penny, because you don't have to sell one entire XRP. It could have just been a very small part of an XRP. Similarly with Bitcoin, somebody could buy a cent worth of Bitcoin at $500,000. And if that's the lowest price, then all of a sudden that's what we multiply the amount of coins outstanding by, and that's our new market cap now. It's just an interesting little thing to think about of just how much this space can increase with some injections of money. And there's two that we're really looking forward to. First of all, I want to tell you guys, I still personally feel as if the bull market is already back. It's just a matter of time before people notice it and really realize it. And the next Bitcoin halving is also within 6 months, and that's usually the catalyst event. This time I think it will be different because obviously we're going to see a Bitcoin ETF probably within 3 months. It's been speculated that it's going to either happen just before the end of the year or slightly into next year. And that's going to add so much more money to the space. The event itself, this is very important, I think will be a little bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news. Everybody knows that a Bitcoin ETF is going to be approved. So the moment that it happens, I do believe there will be a pump, but it won't last, as in, it won't just be like a 30,000 to 50,000 stay and just up. It will probably be an initial pump, perhaps the first couple of days, drop back down a little bit because, well, it's going to be a little bit of a bull trap, but still sustaining some gain though, and then continuing on from there with the bull market as we head over into the halving, etc. There could, theoretically speaking, be one more major dip before the halving actually comes, which did happen before as well. But generally speaking, right after the halving, so right after April or so of 2024, I believe it's going to be mostly uphill from there. But I'd say that most of us are probably anticipating exactly what I just explained. And thus, for that reason, perhaps things are going to slightly change. Well, I think the majority of people are expecting that the Bitcoin ETF being approved. Since we had a glimpse of that when Cointelegraph had the fake news out, I'm assuming that it is going to be a pretty big pump event. But since we're all anticipating that, I do believe the dump will come, if you understand my drift. Logically speaking, crypto would just pump like crazy because of the ETF. Because the big institutions know. We're all thinking that. because we all know it's going to get approved within the next couple of months. There's almost no way around it. They know we're buying already. They know we're buying into the rumor right now and are either planning to sell the news or are going to basically buy in hard at the moment that it happens. But then the question comes, for what? It's mostly going to be retail who buy in the moment that it happens because, or I guess longs coming in. If we all know collectively, right? Us, all the loyal viewers, all you guys, make sure you press the like button. I love you guys. If you're knowing this, that it will probably pump the moment that it gets approved, then there's no real reason for it to pump the moment it gets approved. You understand? That's the concept of buy the rumor, sell the news. If everybody understands an event is happening, and they all understand that's the catalyst, that's the thing, then everybody buys in anticipation of the event instead of buying the event itself. And the only part, the wuffy part, I don't know what to say, is that there might be a risk that it won't happen, or that the date is rather unknown as to what might change things, what might make a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event less certain, which is the case here. But I think mostly it's just going to be manipulation, where they're going to try and make you lose money. As we saw with the 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏 tweet, a lot of people knew exactly what was going on, but played into it anyway because they knew how to make money. And the same thing is going to apply and happen with the actual Bitcoin spot ETF approvals. There's going to be so much manipulation. There's going to be so many people trading against exactly what you're thinking because they understand the market and they make it. But my personal game plan is that most likely initial pump because we saw the test with 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏. And it just makes sense for retail. I just almost choked, it felt like. And it makes sense for the retail to buy in heavily. From almost no perspective, though, does it really make sense to buy in the moment that the event does occur, because it's going to open up the floodgates, right? Allow for people to transact. But it's going to take a couple of business days anyway for those guys to start buying in. So that's not the big thing. That's not going to increase the price them buying in per se, sort of the bat. It would really most likely take a couple of months for them to really hop on in, which is why the ETF approving a couple months before the halving would be kind of perfect. Most likely that's how BlackRock, etc. planned this. I think it's all going to go according to their exact planning, which I lined out a little bit earlier here. Suppress the Bitcoin price while saying they're excited. Buy as much Bitcoin as humanly possible, like, for example, through MicroStrategy, because they bought major stock in MicroStrategy over the last, I don't know, like 2 decades or whatever. Get Bitcoin ETF approved. Make money on new institutions that also want to follow BlackRock's moves and buy Bitcoin. Double profit, because now they profit from all these institutions. Then they're now allowed to buy it. And obviously, because they bought in so heavily and suppressed the price, they're going to profit from the gains too. Just know, guys, there's so much changing in the world that we've known for a while that these institutions know Bitcoin is the way. Cryptocurrencies are the way. For safety, for a flight to quality. That's literally what Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, which, by the way, is the biggest asset manager in the world, said. But here, just an example, the Chinese yuan surpasses the euro to become the world's second most used currency for SWIFT trade settlements. Understand that the paradigm you've known for a while, the system that's worked for the last 100 years, doesn't necessarily have to keep working forever. I want you guys to realize that really, really carefully. Bitcoin skeptic Charles Schwab, bank deposits down 30% year over year, while Bitcoin is up 50%. Take it as you want, but we're seeing the movement right now as we speak. If you don't want to believe that it's happening, the great financial shift, then hey, you do you. But I hope the majority of you guys are seeing exactly what I'm seeing. They do not want you to know it fully. They're giving you hints, but they don't want you to fully know it. Anybody in crypto, if you heard a couple years ago that the biggest asset managers in the world were so interested in this currency, and they said it's a flight to quality, that's why they're getting into it, you would have gone apeshit, insane, and put all your money on it. The fact that it's not just pumping every day with crazy margins shows some crazy manipulation. We talked about it before as well with the Ripple case. It really, once you start diving in, it really makes no sense. So many parts of it are so wrong. And the investigations at the SEC are so slow, so stupid. Nobody's checking. Makes me think about all the crazy stuff in the background that's ongoing. But that's a story for a different day, man.